When two of America's most outspoken personalities collide live on television, the result is explosive. What began as a routine interview quickly spiraled out of control, with accusations flying, tempers flaring, and one of the most dramatic walk-offs in late-night history looming in the air. Under the blazing studio lights, Donald Trump settled into the guest chair opposite Jon Stewart on The Daily Show. The set somehow felt smaller than usual, the tension already palpable before the cameras began rolling. Stewart, wearing his trademark smirk, shuffled his papers while Trump adjusted his tie and surveyed the crowd with his characteristic confidence. "Let's talk about your relationship with the truth." "It's complicated, isn't it?" Stewart began with theatrical intensity. Trump's jaw tightened. "Jon, you know what's complicated? Your ratings."
"When's the last time you had a real story people cared about?"
The audience let out a collective ooh, sensing blood in the water. Stewart raised his eyebrows. "We're starting there? Fine. At least I don't have to make up facts to support mine." Trump leaned back, spreading his arms wide. "Everything I say is backed by tremendous research. The best research. You wouldn't understand it because you're too busy making jokes about serious issues." Stewart's eyes glinted dangerously. "Serious issues? Like when you claimed windmills cause cancer? That was some serious research." "I never said that," Trump shot back. "You literally said it at a fundraising dinner. There's video." "Fake news. Taken out of context." Stewart let the silence hang, the audience dead quiet. "So the video of you speaking is fake news?" "The interpretation is fake news," Trump snapped. "The media twists everything. They take a beautiful speech about energy independence and make me sound like a conspiracy theorist." "But you did say windmills cause cancer." "I said they might cause cancer. There's a huge difference, but you people don't care about nuance." Stewart leaned forward, his voice dropping into a measured tone longtime viewers knew signaled he was about to pounce. "Nuance? That's interesting coming from someone who communicates exclusively in superlatives. Everything's either tremendous or a disaster. The best or the worst. Where's the nuance in that?" Trump's face flushed red. "I communicate clearly. People understand me, unlike some who hide behind comedy to avoid real conversations about real problems." "Real problems?" Stewart nodded. "Like the problem of you claiming the election was stolen when every court, including judges you appointed, said it wasn't?" The room's temperature seemed to drop. Trump's hand stilled. "We're not going there, Jon." "Not going where?" "To reality?" Stewart pressed. "We're not going to relitigate something twisted by a corrupt media establishment that includes this show." Stewart set his pen down deliberately. "Twisted how?" "By accurately reporting what happened." "Nothing was accurate, nothing. The whole thing was a witch hunt, and you know it. You were part of it." "I was part of reporting news." "You were part of the propaganda machine." Trump's voice rose, his composure cracking. "Your little comedy show pretends to be journalism while spreading lies and division." The audience was silent, the usual laughter replaced by electric tension as the cameras kept rolling. "Propaganda," Stewart said slowly. "That's rich coming from someone who spent 4 years calling any unfavorable coverage fake news. Tell me, what makes something propaganda versus journalism in your world?" "Journalism tells the truth. Propaganda has an agenda. And who decides what the truth is?" Trump hesitated, trapped. "The facts decide." "Great, so when the facts show you lost the election, that's just facts, right?" "Those aren't facts. Those are manipulated statistics pushed by people who wanted to destroy our democracy." Stewart laughed, sharp, cold. "Our democracy? You're concerned about our democracy? The same democracy you tried to overturn when you didn't like the results?" Trump's face was crimson now, his fists clenched on the armrests. "I tried to save our democracy from people like you who want to silence half the country." "Silence half the country?" Stewart shot back. "By reporting what actually happened?" "By lying about what actually happened," Trump roared. The back and forth had become rapid fire now, voices overlapping and any pretense of a normal interview abandoned. Stewart leaned forward like a prosecutor while Trump reclined like a defendant, the audience watching what felt like a car crash in real time. "Lying about what?" "Be specific," Stewart pressed. "Everything. The Russia investigation, the impeachment, the election coverage, all of it designed to take down a president who was actually fighting for the American people." Trump shot back. "Fighting for the American people by spreading conspiracy theories?" Stewart countered. Fighting for the American people by exposing the truth about a corrupt system that includes people exactly like you, Trump replied. Stewart abruptly stood up, something he almost never did, and Trump actually flinched at the unexpected gesture. People exactly like me? You mean people who ask questions? People who expect answers? People who think reality matters? Stewart demanded. Trump rose to his feet as well. The two men now squared off across the desk like gunslingers at high noon. People who think they're smarter than everyone else, who look down on regular Americans, and then wonder why those Americans don't trust them, Trump fired back. Regular Americans? Stewart echoed. You mean the regular Americans who stormed the Capitol because you told them the election was stolen? The line hit Trump like a physical blow, his face darkening from red to purple as the studio fell so silent you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. The audience held its collective breath, sensing they were witnessing something historic. Don't you dare, Trump said, his voice low and dangerous. Don't you dare blame me for what happened that day. Stewart didn't back down. He stepped closer, his voice gaining strength. I'm not blaming you. I'm quoting you. Your exact words. Fight like hell or you're not going to have a country anymore. Ring any bells? That's called political speech, John. Something you wouldn't understand because you've never actually run for anything. You just sit here in your little studio and throw stones, Trump retorted. Political speech? Stewart repeated. When does political speech become incitement? When people actually act on it? When it's actually incitement, which it wasn't. I told people to march peacefully. I said, be peaceful, but you don't show that part, do you? You and your media friends just edit out anything that doesn't fit your narrative. Stewart rifled through a stack of papers. Okay, let's talk about peaceful. You also said, he read from the transcript, they need to show strength, that being weak won't work, that they need to fight much harder. How exactly do you fight peacefully? Trump's eyes narrowed. You're twisting my words again. You take one sentence out of a 2-hour speech and act like that's the whole story. One sentence? Stewart shot back. It was the theme of the entire speech. The entire rally was built around the idea that the election was stolen, and something had to be done about it. Something legal had to be done about it. Constitutional processes. I was talking about constitutional processes, Trump said. Stewart laughed bitterly. Constitutional processes like pressuring your vice president to reject electoral votes? Like calling state officials and asking them to find votes that didn't exist? I was exercising my right to challenge questionable election results. Every candidate has that right, Trump insisted. Every candidate has the right to file lawsuits, Stewart said. You filed 60 of them. You lost 59. At what point do you accept that maybe, just maybe, you actually lost? Trump began pacing behind his chair like a caged animal. I lost those cases because the courts refused to look at the evidence. They dismissed them on technicalities. They dismissed them because there was no evidence, Stewart countered. Your own Attorney General said there was no evidence. Your own Department of Homeland Security said it was the most secure election in history. My Attorney General was weak. Homeland Security was compromised. The whole system was working against us. Stewart threw up his hands. Everyone was against you? Everyone, the courts, the states, your own appointees, your own party members who certified the results? Everyone was part of some massive conspiracy except you? Not everyone, but enough people in key positions to steal an election, yes, Trump said as the audience murmured, shifting uncomfortably. This had moved far beyond entertainment into something much darker. Stewart sat back down, his posture tense and coiled. Do you understand how that sounds? Do you understand that what you're describing is literally impossible? The level of coordination, the number of people who'd have to be involved, the perfect execution across multiple states. Nothing's impossible when you have enough money and enough power behind you, Trump answered. Who has that kind of money and power? Who orchestrated this massive conspiracy? Stewart demanded. Trump waved his hand dismissively. You know who? The same people who've been trying to destroy me since I came down that escalator. Name them. Give me names. I'm not going to play your games. John, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Stewart leaned forward again, his voice sharp and prosecutorial. I don't know who you're talking about because you're speaking in riddles and conspiracy theories. You're asking people to believe in shadowy forces and unnamed enemies because you can't accept that you lost an election. The American people lost, Trump snapped. They lost their voice. They lost their vote. They lost their country. They lost their country. To who? Stewart asked. To the people they elected. To the people who stole their election and installed a puppet government. The words hung in the air like toxic smoke. Stewart stared at Trump for a long, silent moment before finally speaking, his voice deadly quiet. A puppet government. You're calling the democratically elected government of the United States a puppet government? Stewart demanded. If the shoe fits, Trump replied. Do you understand what you just said? Do you understand the implications of what you're suggesting? Stewart pressed. Trump straightened his tie, some composure returning. I understand that I'm speaking truth to power, something you used to claim to do before you became part of the establishment. The establishment, Stewart repeated. Right. The establishment that somehow includes everyone who disagrees with you. Judges, election officials, even your own staff who quit, rather than go along with your claims. They quit because they were weak. They couldn't handle the pressure, Trump shot back. Or they quit because they had integrity, because they wouldn't participate in overturning a legitimate election, Stewart countered. Trump's face darkened. Legitimate. There was nothing legitimate about that election. Nothing, and deep down you know it. Everyone knows it. But nobody has the courage to say it. Stewart stood again, moving around the desk toward Trump in an unprecedented breach of late-night etiquette. I have the courage to say a lot of things. I have the courage to say that you're lying. I have the courage to say that you're dangerous. I have the courage to say that what you did was wrong. Trump backed up a step but stayed defiant. What I did was fight for my country. What you're doing is destroying it. I'm destroying it by asking you to provide evidence for your claims, Stewart demanded. You're destroying it by spreading lies and calling them truth, by gaslighting the American people into believing something that never happened. The irony of the exchange was so thick it felt almost visible. Stewart let out a harsh, disbelieving laugh. I'm gaslighting people. I'm the one gaslighting people? You spent 2 months telling people the election was rigged before a single vote was counted. You declared victory while votes were still being counted. You filed lawsuits your own lawyers admitted had no evidence. And I'm the one gaslighting people. You're part of a system that refuses to acknowledge obvious fraud because it benefited your side, Trump shot back. Show me the fraud right now. Give me one specific example of fraud that changed the outcome of the election, Stewart challenged. Trump gestured broadly at the audience, the cameras, the studio itself. This is fraud. This whole setup, this whole interview. You brought me here under false pretenses to attack me on national television. Stewart's jaw dropped. False pretenses? You agreed to come on the show. Nobody forced you. Nobody tricked you. We told you exactly what this was. You told me this was going to be a fair interview about my policies and my vision for America, Trump said. Fair means asking tough questions. Fair means expecting honest answers, Stewart replied. Trump moved toward the edge of the set, his body language screaming for an exit, but Stewart wasn't done. Where are you going? We're not finished here. Trump turned back, his face a mask of barely controlled rage. Oh, we're finished. We're more than finished. This is exactly why nobody trusts the media anymore. This is exactly why the American people are waking up to what you people really are. What we really are? Stewart asked. What are we really? Enemies of the people, Trump spat. The words echoed through the studio like a gunshot, drawing an audible gasp from the audience and even stunning the hardened production crew. Stewart froze as if he couldn't quite believe what he'd heard. Enemies of the people, he repeated slowly, his voice barely a whisper. Did you just call the free press enemies of the people on television? In America? Trump's chest heaved with anger and adrenaline. I called liars what they are. If that describes you, then that's your problem, not mine. Stewart stepped closer until they were only feet apart, the tension so thick it felt like the air might explode. You just used the exact language dictators use. Stalin called journalists enemies of the people. Mao called them enemies of the people. And now you're doing it. Don't you dare compare me to them. Don't you dare. I'm the one fighting for freedom. You're the one trying to silence dissent, Trump snapped. Silence dissent? By asking you questions? By expecting you to back up your claims with evidence? Stewart asked. Trump pointed an accusatory finger, his voice rising to a near shout. By ambushing me with gotcha questions and twisted narratives. By setting up this whole circus to make me look bad. You're making yourself look bad. I'm just asking you to explain your positions. My positions are clear: America first, fair elections, honest media. Things you obviously can't understand. Stewart ran his hands through his hair in frustration. Honest media, right? And who determines what's honest, you? You're the arbiter of truth now. The American people are the arbiter of truth, and they've seen through your lies, Trump said. Then why are you running away from their questions? Stewart shot back. Trump whirled around, eyes blazing. I'm not running away from anything. I'm refusing to participate in a rigged game. Everything's rigged with you, isn't it? Every time you don't get your way, it's rigged. The elections are rigged. The media is rigged. The courts are rigged. Have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, you're wrong? I'm never wrong about the important things, Trump declared. The audacity of the statement left Stewart momentarily speechless. When he found his voice again, it was barely controlled. You're never wrong about anything ever? Do you understand how insane that sounds? Trump was already unhooking his microphone, his movements sharp and angry. What's insane is pretending this is journalism. What's insane is thinking the American people can't see what you're really doing here. What I'm really doing, Stewart said, is my job, asking the questions that need to be asked. Your job is entertainment, Jon. Don't pretend it's anything more than that. You're a clown who forgot he's supposed to be funny. The words hit like a slap and Stewart's face went pale with rage. A clown? You're calling me a clown while you're literally throwing a tantrum and running away from an interview? By now, Trump had ripped off his microphone and shoved it into the hands of a bewildered production assistant. I'm not running away from anything. I'm walking away from a waste of time. Stewart's voice cracked with fury. Walking away is what you do best, isn't it? Walk away from your responsibilities. Walk away from the truth. Walk away from the consequences of your actions. Trump froze mid-step, spun around, and the look in his eyes was pure venom. The only thing I walk away from is fake people spreading fake news to a fake audience who doesn't know any better. Stewart gestured toward the stunned crowd. Fake audience? These are real people with real concerns who deserve real answers. They deserve better than this hit job you call leadership. His voice was shaking, the last pretense of professional composure gone. Then give them better, Stewart roared. Answer the questions. Explain your positions. Act like a leader instead of a victim. Trump was almost at the exit now, but he threw a final line over his shoulder. I don't have to explain anything to people who wouldn't believe the truth if it hit them in the face. Stewart shot back with venom of his own. The truth? You wouldn't know the truth if it came with a birth certificate. That line stopped Trump cold. He turned slowly, and for a heartbeat it looked like he might charge back at Stewart. Security shifted uneasily, ready to intervene. Trump's voice came out calm now, eerily so. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You still can't get over the fact that I proved you all wrong. About being president, about winning. About connecting with real Americans instead of coastal elites who think they know better than everyone else. Stewart was shaking, his hands trembling with anger. You proved that a reality TV star could con people into believing his lies. Congratulations, what an achievement. Trump jabbed a finger toward him. I proved the American people are smarter than you think. Smarter than you are. Stewart's reply came sharp as a knife. Smart enough to storm the Capitol when you told them to. That was the breaking point. Trump's face turned beet red, his finger stabbing the air like a weapon. That's on you and people like you. You created that anger with your lies, your bias, and your contempt for half the country. Stewart barked a disbelieving laugh, raw and jagged. I created that anger by reporting facts? By distorting facts. Trump thundered. By hating America and everything it stands for. Stewart's laugh hardened into something bitter. I hate America? The guy who spent his whole career making fun of politicians to keep them honest hates America. But the guy who tried to overturn an election loves it? Trump's voice shook with fury. I tried to save it. I'm still trying to save it from people like you. With that, Trump turned and stormed off the set. Not with a dramatic flourish, but with the grim, determined stride of someone who had made up his mind and couldn't be stopped. The cameras followed as he vanished into the wings, leaving Stewart alone, trembling with anger, staring at the empty chair. The audience sat frozen in stunned silence, caught between shock and disbelief. Finally, Stewart exhaled, his voice hoarse as he muttered, Well, that happened. The silence stretched unbearably before he sank into his chair, looked straight into the camera and said, Ladies and gentlemen, that was supposed to be a 20-minute interview about policy and governance. Instead, you just watched what happens when someone who has never been held accountable meets someone whose job it is to hold people accountable. He paused, dragging a hand through his hair. I've been doing this for a long time. I've interviewed presidents, prime ministers, dictators, and celebrities. I've seen anger, defensiveness, evasiveness, but I've never seen someone so divorced from reality they can't engage with basic questions about their own actions. Another pause. That wasn't an interview. That was an intervention, and like most interventions involving addicts, it didn't work. His eyes flicked once more to the empty chair, then back to the lens. We'll be right back after this break if we can figure out how to follow that. The cameras cut to commercial, but the damage was done. In less than half an hour, two of America's most recognizable figures had waged a verbal war that exposed the raw, gaping fault lines in American society. There were no winners, only casualties. And the biggest casualty might have been the very idea that public discourse still had a place in democracy. What was meant to be an interview about policy had transformed into a showdown over something more fundamental: whether truth itself still mattered in American politics. And based on what just unfolded, the answer was terrifyingly unclear.